Bret Baier, the host of Special Report with Bret Baier on Fox, was reportedly in a serious car wreck Monday morning, and he and his family were briefly hospitalized before they were able to fly home.
Bret Baier is allegedly stepping away from the network that defined his career, and he didn't stick around to offer much explanation. At 54, the longtime Fox News anchor made a sudden and surprising exit that shocked the media world. For years, he was the trusted voice behind some of Fox's most crucial political coverage. So why walk away now and without warning? Was it the quiet buildup of internal tension? A last-minute fallout? Or something much bigger than the headlines suggest? Join us as we dig into what really happened behind closed doors, and where Bret Baier could be headed next in a story that's only just beginning. Baier's bumps and battles. From the tragic events of the 11th of November to the battlegrounds of Afghanistan and Iraq, Bret Baier has covered some of the most defining moments of modern history. Over the decades at Fox News, he has followed presidential races, reported on inaugurations, and become a trusted face in American political journalism. His career began after earning a political science degree from DePaul University, and from local TV, he steadily climbed the ranks, ultimately securing his primetime show, Special Report. Along the way, he gained not just recognition but powerful connections, including a golfing friendship with President Donald Trump. His journey, however, has not been without turbulence. Baier's rise from the modest studios of WJWJ-TV 16 in South Carolina to the spotlight of America's leading conservative network came with its share of career hurdles. While he was honored with numerous prestigious awards, some moments tested his resolve and shook his professional standing. Not all of Baier's battles played out in the spotlight. Some of the most challenging moments unfolded quietly behind the scenes, leaving their mark as he steered through the unpredictable world of cable news. Yet the pressure was not limited to the newsroom. At home, the Baier family faced a series of personal trials that tested their strength and unity, from life-threatening health scares to moments that could have ended in tragedy. One of the most harrowing incidents happened in 2019 during a family trip to Montana. What was meant to be a relaxing getaway took a terrifying turn when their vehicle lost control on icy roads, crashed, and flipped over. It was a moment of sheer panic, but it also showed the power of quick action and community support. While returning from a skiing holiday, their vehicle lost control on the icy road, flipped, and left them stranded in a precarious situation.
After being involved in a rollover crash in Bozeman yesterday, it happened after he and his family spent the weekend skiing at the Yellowstone Club.
But in a moment so close to disaster, who would have thought that hope would come from a stranger on a snowy Montana road? Faith, fear, and family. Bret Baier later revealed that a passing driver named Zach was the one who helped his family escape the wreckage after their terrifying crash in Montana. Thanks to Zach, along with the quick response from first responders and the Montana Highway Patrol, they were safely taken to the hospital and received immediate care. Baier didn't hold back his gratitude, reminding his followers that every day is a blessing and that moments like these bring everything into focus, especially the importance of family. What could have ended in tragedy instead became a powerful reminder of how deeply kindness and courage still exist in everyday people. Amazingly, the Baier family was discharged from the hospital the very same day, and the outpouring of support was immediate. High-profile figures like Megyn Kelly, Ainsley Earhart, and even Stephen Colbert, who was scheduled to interview Baier on his late-night show, all sent their well wishes. Just one day later, Bret was back on air, calmly hosting Special Report as though nothing had happened, though he took a moment to thank viewers for their prayers and support.
I don't usually give advice, but I think everyone should count your blessings. My family is tonight.
He and his wife, Amy, were grateful to have come through the ordeal as a family. But the couple had already faced even more challenging battles. In 2007, soon after the birth of their son Paul, doctors gave them devastating news. The baby had 5 congenital heart defects and would need several open-heart surgeries to survive. The joy of parenthood quickly turned into fear and heartbreak. Bret later recalled that moment as life-altering, describing how the doctor told them their son wouldn't make it without urgent surgery. Paul went through 2 surgeries before his first birthday, and many more followed over the years, testing the family's strength time and again. While speaking about his book, Special Heart, A Journey of Faith, Hope, Courage, and Love, Baier shared a touching moment with his son, who once asked why he had to go through so much. He responded with honesty and hope, telling Paul that God had a plan and that he was passing every test with strength and grace. It was just one of many moments that showed how deeply faith, family, and endurance have shaped Baier's journey, both on and off the screen. His words to Paul reflected the same resilience he had witnessed in his father, a man whose strength and sacrifices had shaped much of Bret's outlook on life. So when Bret faced one of his most significant personal losses, how did that foundation of faith and family help him carry on? Loss, scars, and stumbles. In 2020, Bret Baier shared heartbreaking news with his followers on Instagram. His father, Bill, had passed away after a long battle with cancer. Alongside a touching photo of them together, Baier explained that he, Amy, and their sons had the chance to say their goodbyes just days before Bill took his final breath. Though the loss was painful, Bret described the swiftness of his father's passing as a small mercy in an otherwise heavy moment. It was clear the bond between father and son ran deep, one built on love, respect, and years of shared wisdom. That respect had always been part of Bret's story. In earlier interviews, he spoke often about how much he admired his father's strength. He remembered being only 9 when Bill sat him down and explained they were moving from New Jersey to Atlanta for work. It felt devastating at the time, but his father's words stuck with him. Success meant climbing the ladder, even if it meant hard changes. Baier carried that same drive into adulthood and hoped to pass it down to his children. But life had more tests in store. In 2024, during what should have been a routine checkup, doctors discovered a large aneurysm near Paul's heart, a condition that could have become complicated if it had gone unnoticed. It would be Paul's 5th open-heart surgery in just 16 years. Bret was the one who had to deliver the news, and though his son handled it with courage, the moment crushed him. Watching Paul roll away yet again for another 10-hour procedure left the newsman shaken. Fortunately, the surgery went well, and Paul returned home just 5 days later. But not long after that relief, Baier found himself under fire following a contentious interview with Kamala Harris. Critics accused him of interrupting too often and pushing an overly aggressive line of questioning. The response was immediate, particularly from liberal circles, where many felt he was more interested in performance. The backlash from the Harris interview was still fresh when another controversy came knocking. If viewers were already questioning his approach, how would they react to claims that he tried to influence one of the most critical election calls in recent history? Headlines, heat, and hindsight. Bret Baier's reputation took another serious hit in 2022 after a political exposé, The Divider. Trump in the White House claimed he had urged Fox News to retract its early call of Arizona for Joe Biden during the 2020 election. Authors Peter Baker and Susan Glasser alleged that Baier was less concerned with accuracy and more worried about the reaction of Fox's predominantly Republican audience. The book portrayed him as a journalist torn between reporting the facts and preserving the loyalty of a viewership that wasn't ready to accept them. An internal email later published shed more light on Baier's stance at the time. In it, he warned Fox executives that Donald Trump's camp was becoming increasingly frustrated with the network's coverage. Baier accused the decision desk of stubbornness, urging leadership to reverse the Arizona call and shift the state back into Trump's column, even if it meant risking credibility. His words suggested that viewer loyalty and political pressure had begun to outweigh his journalistic standards. Further damage was done when the Daily Beast obtained private messages between Baier and fellow Fox personality Tucker Carlson. In those texts, Baier expressed his desire for the network to slow down its election calls, agreeing with Carlson that hasty decisions could jeopardize everything they had built. Bret Baier had long been viewed as one of the more fair and balanced figures at Fox News, but that reputation took a hit when leaked messages painted a different picture. The messages suggested he was more concerned with keeping viewers satisfied than delivering hard truths, raising questions about his commitment to journalistic integrity. It wasn't the first time Baier found himself in the hot seat. In 2016, he faced backlash for defending Roger Ailes after Gretchen Carlson came forward with harassment allegations against the longtime Fox News chief.
Months caught up in a media firestorm, Gretchen Carlson now finally speaking out, using her story and her stature in the hopes of helping other women suffering in the face of sexual harassment.
His defense of Ailes made him a key player in the scandal. It's not clear if Baier chose his boss over the facts, which is a problem for a journalist who is supposed to put the truth first. How then did he get out of the moral trap? Ignored in plain sight. During an interview on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Baier spoke emotionally about how Roger Ailes had stood by him during one of the most difficult times in his life, offering support when his son faced a series of serious health challenges.
He's been fantastic to my family. He's one of the first people who called when my son had open heart surgery.
That personal kindness, he explained, was the version of Ailes he had known, generous, caring, and loyal. However, as more women came forward with similar accusations, including high-profile anchor Megyn Kelly, the picture began to shift. Baier later acknowledged that his initial defense had been misguided, admitting that he had been naive and that his personal experience had clouded his judgment. Even someone as established as Bret Baier knows what it feels like to be overlooked in the workplace. Although he has been one of Fox News' most consistent and trusted anchors since joining in 1998, that longevity hasn't always guaranteed that his ideas or efforts are recognized. Behind the camera, Baier has faced moments where his contributions were quietly brushed aside, even when he believed they could make a meaningful difference. In 2020, Baier suggested creating a special Sunday night program focused on clearing up the growing wave of misinformation surrounding the presidential election. As conspiracy theories and false claims spread rapidly, many pushed by Donald Trump, he believed that Fox's viewers deserved a straightforward, fact-based explanation. NPR reported that Baier saw the show as a way to both acknowledge the audience's concerns and set the record straight. However, it seemed that network leaders did not feel the same level of urgency or support for the idea. Executives apparently gave little to no response to Baier's proposal. One insider explained that by the time conversations started to gain traction, the network had already turned its attention to covering Joe Biden's presidency. The window to challenge election misinformation had closed, and leadership no longer saw value in revisiting the idea. Understanding that the opportunity had slipped away, Baier chose to step back from the pitch, especially after the chaos of January 6th shook the country. Despite being sidelined on a project he felt strongly about, Baier's position at Fox remained untouched, if not strengthened. After stepping back quietly, how did he manage to stay at the top while navigating growing tensions both inside and outside the newsroom? Still in the spotlight, Fox News recently revealed that Bret Baier is staying put, locking in a new contract that keeps him front and center on the network. Under the new deal, he continued hosting Special Report, lead coverage of the 2024 election, and kept his podcast, the Bret Baier Podcast, running strong on Fox News Audio. Baier first took over Special Report from Brit Hume back in 2009, And since then, the show has drawn in about 2 million viewers every night. His steady presence and sharp political coverage have made him one of the most trusted and influential voices on the channel. Just weeks before the announcement, Baier co-moderated the first Republican presidential primary debate.
Here is a live look at Pfizer Forum. A big announcement from Fox News today. The network says anchors Bret Baier and Martha MacCallum will co-moderate the first Republican presidential primary debate.
While the discussion made headlines, it was also notable for those who did not attend. Former President Donald Trump, who skipped the event and blamed what he described as Fox's hostile attitude toward him. Despite Trump's absence, Baier's role as moderator reinforced his reputation as a trusted face during significant political moments. Earlier that summer, Baier landed an in-depth interview with Trump, pressing him on sensitive issues like his handling of classified documents. The conversation drew widespread attention as Baier pushed for answers on matters central to Trump's 2024 campaign. It was a rare opportunity to hear the former president challenged directly on camera, and Baier didn't hold back. Trump, however, was not impressed. In the days following the interview, he lashed out at Baier, calling him nasty and accusing him of disloyalty. His criticism extended to the network itself, aiming at Fox News and its executive chairman, Rupert Murdoch, whom he accused of trying to block his return to power. As the 2024 race heated up, Baier's role at the center of these clashes only confirmed that his voice remained as relevant and as scrutinized as ever. While Baier now finds himself at the center of political firestorms, his rise to that spotlight was anything but overnight. How did a local news reporter from South Carolina become one of the most watched and most challenged journalists in America today? From ground zero to fame. Bret Baier's path to becoming one of the most well-known faces on Fox News started far from the spotlight. He began his career at a small local station, WJWJ-TV 16, in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. He later moved to WRAL-TV in Raleigh, North Carolina, which was a CBS station at the time. In 1998, he took a chance and sent an audition tape to Fox News, which led to him being hired as the Atlanta bureau chief, a decision that would shape the rest of his career. Everything changed for Baier on September 11, 2001. As the world watched in shock, he drove from Georgia to Arlington, Virginia, to report on the attack at the Pentagon. After that, he never went back to his old job in Atlanta, as Fox News made him their full-time Pentagon reporter. Over the next 5 years, he traveled 11 times to Afghanistan and 13 times to Iraq, covering the wars from the front lines and bringing those major global stories to viewers back home. In 2007, Baier was named Fox News' chief White House correspondent, covering the last years of President George W. Bush's time in office. Around the same time, he also began filling in for Brit Hume on Special Report every Friday, helping viewers get used to seeing him in that role. By December 2008, Hume officially stepped down and passed the anchor role to Baier, who took over entirely in early 2009. In August 2023, he co-moderated the first GOP primary debate alongside Martha MacCallum, drawing in an audience of nearly 13 million viewers. A month later, he traveled to Sindalah, Saudi Arabia, where he secured a high-profile interview with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. From local TV beginnings to grilling world leaders on the global stage, Baier's rise has been steady, calculated, and marked by a tireless commitment to staying at the heart of the story. Baier's ability to land significant interviews and lead high-stakes political events had become one of his defining strengths. But when his attempt to bring transparency to the House leadership race was shut down, was it a sign that even seasoned journalists can hit walls in today's divided political climate? Debates, drama, and diplomacy. In October 2023, Bret Baier planned to host an essential discussion on Special Report with the Republicans hoping to replace Kevin McCarthy as House Speaker. Candidates Kevin Hern, Jim Jordan, and Steve Scalise were ready to present their plans directly to viewers. However, the idea quickly caused tension, as some House Republicans strongly disagreed with holding the event on live television. They called it a bad idea and said it would only distract from the severe leadership crisis, which led Fox News to cancel the segment before it could air. In February 2024, just months after the canceled debate, Baier traveled overseas for a major interview with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Speaking from the front lines of the war, Zelensky gave his first interview of this kind since Russia began its invasion. During the conversation, he strongly criticized Tucker Carlson's interview with Vladimir Putin, calling it 2 hours of bullshit, and urged Western countries to give more support to Ukraine. In October 2024, Baier grabbed headlines again, this time from the Fox News studio, when he interviewed Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris. It was her first appearance on the network, and the conversation quickly grew tense, with Baier interrupting often and both speaking over each other during the heated exchange.
It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Yes, ma'am. May I finish responding, please?
Despite the back and forth, the interview drew huge numbers, averaging 7.8 million viewers and reaching over 9.2 million in total, including more than 1 million in a key age group. Over the years, Baier's work has earned him some of journalism's most respected honors. In 2016, he was awarded the Kenneth Y. Tomlinson Award for Outstanding Journalism, followed by the Sol Tyshoff Award for Excellence in Broadcast Journalism in 2017. That same year, he also received the Urbino Press Award from Italy's municipality of Urbino. Will Bret Baier's reputation as a trusted political voice withstand the growing controversies? Or will recent missteps begin to redefine his legacy at Fox News? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.